Somebody had asked about whether or not you should share with your spouse, whether about collecting and buying metals. And another big one people ask about is closing bank accounts of precious metal dealers.
Yeah, so that's today's episode, guys. It's a very important topic, so stick around. All right, so Senor Andrew Henn from Bayshore Bullion Exchange. I've been asked many times, I see it in the comments, people talking about whether or not you should divulge information about your stack, your silver and gold holdings to your spouse. Before I, say what my perspective is, I'm curious as to what your opinion is on this.
I guess it depends on what kind of relationship you're in. You know what I mean? If you're in one of these relationships where you don't hide anything from each other, you know what I mean? Obviously, you tell your significant other, but I wouldn't imagine why you wouldn't tell your significant other. You're trying to, you planning a getaway plan. You're trying to hide money on the side just in case it doesn't work out, or
right.
I don't know why you wouldn't tell your significant other.
I'm relieved because I thought maybe you would say something like, no, you got to bury it 6 feet deep back in the corner of your yard.
Like I said, it depends on if it's some bullshit relationship that you don't see a future in. Yeah, I wouldn't tell her. I wouldn't tell her anything, But if it's somebody you plan on spending the rest of your life with, and it's a serious relationship, and I don't know why you would hide that. But I've seen, as a seller, I have seen both. I have women come in here that I'm sure they don't tell their husbands that what they're buying or what they're doing with their money, and guys just come right out and say, this is stuff I gotta hide from my wife. I can't tell her, So I don't know. I see both. It depends on what kind of relationship you're in.
I think if you have children, I think it's incredibly important that you tell your spouse everything for the silver and gold.
People have children and still have shitty relationships. You know what I mean?
No,
it depends on.
But here's the reasoning. God forbid, driving down the highway, get into an accident, die. Right? You don't know. I would argue that 99.9% of the people that are watching this podcast and the people that are into stacking, I would say the majority of them are male, and I would say the majority of their spouses probably haven't the slightest clue as to what the value is of the precious metals. In general, I have on multiple occasions, just for fun, have asked my wife, I've asked family members who don't have a clue about precious metals, what do you think the value is of this coin? And I get like a gold buffalo. Just the other day, my sister-in-law, how much do you think this is worth? I don't know, $300?
Oh, wow.
I'm like, no, it's like $2,200, right? They don't have any clue. And so I've tried talking to my spouse because they're also, my wife gets bored real easy about this type of, not at all. No. It's like coin nerds. It's like me saying to you, Andrew, the Death Star is this. Right. You're like, fuck. So I keep spreadsheets, and I've spoken to my wife how to access the spreadsheet, and it shows like everything that I've purchased and what it costs. So at least she has an idea.
No, that's a good point too. I've had people come in here that like their father died, their significant other died, and they say, listen, this idiot collected this stuff. I don't care what you give me for it. And like they really don't know the value of what they have. And I've also had another case recently. There's a guy who's been buying tons of metal off me throughout the years. And recently he asked me to go out to dinner with him and his wife, right? Because he's getting older. God forbid something happens.
You're the guy to go to.
This is the guy I want you to come back to and sell this stuff to. You know, don't go out anywhere you're going to get ripped off.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I've had both. You know what I mean? I've had a couple scenarios where, you get an inside look at their relationship and, what their mindset is. But I have seen that where they have no idea what the value is, and that's what you don't want. You buy these metals for a reason.
Yes.
To store. It's a store of value, of wealth. You don't want to leave it and your kids and wife dump it for nothing.
Exactly right. And that's my point, is at least educate your spouse to a degree.
Sure.
But you want to keep records And I know a lot of people are like, no, like they think that the government's watching them and they don't want to keep any sort of paper trail and they don't want anybody to know what they've got. But you need to at least let your spouse know the value and, in my opinion, catalog the stuff. So again, God forbid something were to happen, at least your spouse has some some idea as to what the value is and what you spend.
I had one woman that would come in. This is years ago when I first opened. She'd sell one Cougaran. You almost got me. One Cougaran every month, right? And
sell it to you?
Yeah. And after like 5 or 6 months, I'm like, where the hell's this girl getting all these Cougarans from? You know? And I asked her one time. She said, listen, my father left us all this coin collection. And she's like, she probably had like 60, 70 of them. Every month she sold one to pay her mortgage.
That's what I was going to say. It's like cash.
Yep. So, I mean, some people...
You can get taken advantage of. And again, like you guys who stack, I mean, you work really hard for your money. You're looking, and not only are you working really hard for your money, but you're spending a lot of time looking for deals, taking time going to the coin shop or dealing with your dealer, trying to get the best deal. I mean, that all takes time. Takes effort.
It depends on the stack, too. You know,
yeah.
I had a guy call me a couple of years back, and he goes, Andrew, I have the biggest coin collection you ever seen in your life. I had to rent a truck.
Oh, man.
To come bring it to you. I'm thinking, oh, my God. You know, and this guy rented a van. He must have had 15, 20 boxes, big, huge U-Haul boxes. And they were all filled with worthless mint sets, and he collected nickels, Jefferson nickels. And he had like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them.
He probably thought it was like...
Oh, my God, what a worthless coin, you know? And
he's like, I'll give you a nickel for it.
You know what? I passed on it. There was nothing even there that, you know...
Those types of mint sets I won't touch with a 10-foot pole.
But, you know, coin collecting was big at one time.
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys, they just collected every year.
Yeah.
You know, it was just part of the hobby, and... You know, they're just worthless.
But they probably thought, like, wow, these are going to be collector's items and they're going to be worth a lot of money one day.
Right.
I may as well buy 10 of these and leave them to my kids, pay for their college. And that's
why were they wrong?
Yeah, that's why you got to stick with like the precious metals. It's tried and true. And going to, you know, so Andrew and I, at least we see eye to eye on.
Don't lie to your spouse.
No, and let them know like what you've got.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. God forbid something happens, and you don't want them dumping it for nothing and being taken advantage of.
Correct.
You know.
And speaking of selling to dealers and things like that, there have been more now. Going to the other topic, talking about like banking and how that's kind of changing.
Big things going on in that.
This is something that keeps coming up in discussion with you, like different pain points.
I'm going through it too. You know, I've really considered lately just not dealing in cash.
Yeah.
It's becoming like a really big issue with the banks. Last thing I want to do is get kicked out of my bank. I have a pretty good relationship with them. I have switched over to Armored Truck Services, but if cash is going to be an issue, I'd rather just not deal with it. But it trickles down to my customers too. So these dealers are selling me gold. I'm giving them cash, so they have cash to use at their locations. You know, and the whole dynamic would have to change. I'd have to be paying them by check or wire. They'd have to be withdrawing the money from their banks, and the banks don't want that either. You know, so I see a lot of stores moving towards check, where like you go and sell your metals, they're just paying you by check. There's not cash, not even an option in some locations. You know, and it's going to be increasingly hard as the gold price goes up. You know,
it's going to get even more difficult.
Some of my transactions, people locked in 2,090 yesterday, 2,085, and like I'm paying the highest for scrap gold I've ever paid. The money goes like water. You know, some days I get deliveries, and by lunchtime it's gone. You know what I mean? It's.
I mean, and I know some of the finer details because you share with me, fees involved, headaches.
$1,200, $1,500 a month in wire transfer fees.
Yeah.
And having the money delivered to me. Oh my God.
I know.
Hundreds and hundreds of dollars. It's crazy.
Right. That's what. So you add that all up too.
Yeah. You wonder if it's even worth it.
It might not be because
I had a guy yesterday, and I didn't mean to get nasty with him. He demanded cash, and he had 4 1-ounce gold bars. Right. I'm making $10 each. Okay,
isn't that crazy?
I'm putting out over $8,000 to make $40.
I know.
That's what I mean. And I'm saying to the guys, listen, you can either take a check or wire transfer. Or like, I don't even want it. Who cares? $40. Like, I don't know.
Right.
It's
right. Tell them to go scratch.
Yeah.
No, I've been pushing you more towards going.
It's hard
more
though, man. I'd probably lose a significant amount of business if I stopped dealing in cash. So it's a tough decision to make, but. going forward, it's a lot of companies.
Now,
are doing it,
how many of these businesses that you've dealt with over the years? What would you say the percentage wise are like really are going to be just completely incapable and stubborn to switch from cash? Like 80% of them?
A lot of them. A lot of them are just people set in their ways. I have a $10,000 cash limit that max that I give out to customers. I get people that sell me $9,960.
Right.
Like when I say, this is over $10,000, they'll take a chain, cut it in half. You know what I mean? So now it's not. You know what I mean? And they won't take $1 in check. So it's hard. Some people I'd probably lose a lot of business. I'm getting a lot more business now because whoever they're dealing with can't supply them with cash. Now I'm getting overwhelmed. You know what I mean? And it's tough. I definitely have to come to some type of resolution and figure something out because I've considered paying less for cash transactions, which is something I see happen in New York right now.
Push them in that direction. Like you would pay them less on an item if they want cash.
Some of these guys, these big deals, I pay 99%. You know what I mean? It's tough.
So what would you drop down to? 97%?
Yeah, 98. Drop maybe another percent.
1%. I mean, I know
but these are huge deals.
I know.
They're some of these transactions are big.
I would.
My ultimate goal is just pay check and wire, and it's cleaner. There's like
I know you don't.
I could there. Don't get me wrong. I have money count machines and stuff, but maybe I hand somebody a wrong stack of bills.
You're not gonna fully get rid of cash because you have to have it. But at least if you could get back down to
some companies I deal with completely cut out cash, dude. They don't like.
And
I ask them, what about the risk you're losing businesses? Yeah, these are our policies. What do we do?
Yeah, but they're gonna still get other customers.
Yeah, but in the meantime, look at the alternative. What are you going to do? Have your bank account closed, run around looking for banks that don't want cash businesses either? You know what I mean? When I was kicked out of a bank in 2018, it took me months to find another bank.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you run that risk. What happens is if tomorrow your bank is like, Andrew, all this cash coming out of the bank and coming in, it's just you're too much of a risk because they've done it to other people and they close down.
Yeah. Well,
then what happens to you?
Luckily, I've been 100% compliant, and I'm pretty good at.
It's not about
keeping up. No,
it's not even about.
It is, because let me tell you something. I've had people that bank with the same bank I do. They've been shut down already when they ask for the compliance, your anti-money laundering program. They want to see, a couple, whatever they ask for. You always comply. These people didn't comply. They're not customers
well, then
there no
that
more,
makes sense if you're not complying. But can it happen
you might not know that you're doing something wrong.
Right.
These people, they were asked for their AML programs. The guy says, "What the hell's an AML program?" He never even had one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I got
something
one.
I do every year.
What do you mean every year? Whoopsies.
Every year. I get.
You have to re-up it or something?
They give you a certificate.
Oh.
And I make sure mine's done every year. It's one of the first checks I write January.
How much is the AML?
It's like $1,200. But they do an audit. They make sure that
who's they? The bank?
Whatever lawyer agency you hire to do your AML compliance work.
Okay.
But you know what? My business also they don't want you buying outside the United States. If I had companies sending me from outside the U.S.,
that's a big red flag.
It would send off a lot of red flags. But man, I'm very strict. You have to have a tax ID number to sell to me. I don't do any business outside the United States. I know my customers. I don't do business with random people and stuff like that. These are people that I've known for years.
Right.
A lot of them, I went to their stores and solicited their accounts. You know what I mean? They're business owners. They're not like some shady people. Any of my customers, they have to give me their driver's license, tax ID number, banking contacts. They never give me a problem. You know what I mean? And that's what they're looking for.
So out of your customer base, if let's say tomorrow you're like, guys, listen, this is the way.
No more cash.
No more cash. How many of them would what if you?
I've talked to some of them about it before recently, and I'm sure I'd lose some. But
some of these. But my point is, some of these business contacts you've had for a long time, you become friendly with them.
Yeah, but business is business.
I know, but how many of them? Like, if you were to talk to them seriously and be like, "Look, I got to operate cash. This is the bank's policies now."
I'd lose some, man. But you know who I would lose? The older people. that are just stuck in their ways. Some
Right.
of the younger guys and the stuff that some of them, a lot of the new people that have come on board only take check and wire. They don't even want to deal in cash.
So
You
are
know?
you going to stay the course until the old people phase out?
I'm gonna try to continue doing what I'm doing, but I'm definitely gonna cut back on cash. You know, I'm not a bank.
I know
You
that.
know.
That's what I'm saying to you.
So
Like,
what's the difference if I write you a check or wire and you go get the cash from your bank? You know,
yeah, why don't you just put it on the customer? Because they
believe
just
me,
want the ease
I
of,
wish I could.
They just-
you
it's
know,
just
they'll
the
go
ease
somewhere
of-
else if I don't have cash on hand. You know.
I'm curious as to how many other businesses in the area can even operate.
Well, I doubt
at the
they
same
buy.
level
I
as
doubt they
you.
buy like I do.
That's
what I mean?
that's my point.
Yeah.
So like, okay, go ahead, go to these other places. Go get your cash elsewhere. They're gonna have to make 16 different stops.
No, but that's what I was saying also. Like, I'm getting this new influx of customers, and it's because whoever they're dealing with can't supply them with cash no more.
So it's been helping you grow, but
yeah, but
it's
it just
causing
kills my
headaches.
cash. It's like, cash is like, man, it just goes. Some days it's gone early in the morning. My first couple of transactions is just gone. You know what I mean? There's like,
So what if
then-
you just if somebody comes in, you just tell them all the time, oh, somebody got the cash before you.
I wish. I wish it
tell
was
them.
that easy.
They would just
go,
leave and
oh,
go-
man, that sucks.
They-
I'll be back next week. They don't sell you the gold. You know what I mean?
Sounds like a pain in the ass customer base.
I would prefer to do check and wire, but you know.
Luckily, I mean
cash
that's
is
all
king.
I do is because I'm all internet based. So
Yeah, no, like I said, everybody runs their different. I've been in business over 15 years now. Like, at one point, it was all cash. I didn't do any transactions by check or wire. You know what I mean? But things are changing. You know, I had a transaction the other day. It was like $7,000-8,000. Somebody asked me to pay them in Zelle. You know, which I've never done before. But
you've done Zelle with me.
not paying people. I accept it as payment when I'm selling. But for me to buy scrap gold and pay them through Zelle, I've never done that before.
It's no
You
big
know?
deal. You just click pay
Yeah,
by
to you,
Zelle.
maybe. I've never done it before. It's another layer of like, now I gotta go back. Even with I'm getting all these Zelle payments now, doing thousands a week in
Yeah.
Zelle, and like,
But it's easy.
yeah, for you because you're used to paying Zelle. Now I gotta go to a website, print it out, make sure it corresponds. You know what I'm getting now? I send people Zelle requests, right? They're not responding to the request. They're just sending me a Zelle payment. So I do a transaction with you through my website. You pay me through Zelle. And 2 weeks later, I get an email saying your Zelle request has expired. And now I got to go back and see if these people even paid me. But they did.
So you're taking Zelle through the website on
Yeah, it's
your
an option.
items.
Yeah. It's an option as payment.
See, I never do it that way. Through
Why?
the website, I only do credit card.
I do. I have like 4 payment methods on my website.
I think on my website,
Why
I
wouldn't you
only
do
have
Zelle
2.
on your website?
I don't think it has the capability.
So it didn't either, right? But I created another like.
But your platform is a little bit more flexible. Mine is more cookie cutter, and I can only operate within the confines of.
So there's 2 adjustments I made on there. They can choose cash local pickup as a payment option, you know, and there was like one, I think ACH bank transfer.
Yeah.
I switched to Zelle. You can edit it.
Yeah,
so somebody buys
you
it
have
on
a
my
different-
website.
You have a different capability.
I see that it's a Zelle payment. I send them a Zelle request, you know, but they must just send me the money without paying
Right.
the request.
Right.
So then maybe 2-3
So
weeks
your money
later,
is there, but
it's
your
there.
Zelle request expires, and you're like, I don't know.
Yeah, last night I got one. It was like for $3,000, and I'm like, what? Did I send out a $3,000 payment, and these people didn't pay me? But I look back, and they did. They just didn't pay it through the request.
You don't get a notification that you got
I do.
but you just missed it.
No. But they're not paying it through the request.
I know, I get it.
So I'm getting an email 2 weeks later saying that your request wasn't paid.
I get
you
that,
know?
but don't you when
I
you
still
get
need this fucking guy.
No, because
yes,
listen,
I'm getting it. You know?
No. Don't you get a notification? Like me, I always
Yes,
get an email.
but they're not paying the request.
I get that.
Yeah, so I get it. So I ship the item out because I do get the email.
But you forget
you know,
a couple weeks later.
Weeks later, thousands of payments and transactions later, you get an email saying, "Hey, this request is expired."
So why
And
don't-
you have to go back and check?
So
you
why
know?
don't you, when you see the notification first come up that Bob Smith paid you $2,000, go and cancel the request? So then you don't have.
You
at
know
that
what?
moment.
I don't know how to cancel the request, dude.
Well, then there
I
you
look
go.
on the
This
thing.
fucking guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know Zelle, dude. All I know is that I'm keep getting these expired fucking Zelle
I can't do
things.
clasps on chains, but you can't do Zelle. Look,
Unbelievable.
That's why the two of us combined are forced to be reckoned with. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, no, Zell's easy. I think I helped talk you into Zelle, and I think I was like your first Zelle transaction. I sent you
For some
Zelle.
reason, when I met with my bank recently, they had a problem with Zelle payments. They're like, I don't know. They made like a weird comment, like saying it not to take Zelle payments from certain people. Like they had a list. It's like, Jesus Christ.
You work with like a very unique bank.
I do in very large numbers, and Zelle. I like to tell you that, man, it's even a small amount of transactions, and I'm still doing tens of thousands a week on there. You know what I mean? It's the
most I've ever paid in Zelle was like $12,000 or $13,000.
Payout? See, yeah. I don't even know. I
pay it out because I get it.
Certain people have different limits. I had somebody recently want to buy a Canadian Maple Leaf. He asked if he could. It was like 2,000 payments. Can I pay you $1,000 a day for these? I don't even want to get involved in it.
Well, that to me is good too, because you say to them, it's like a non-refundable deposit. Pay the $1,000. They pay you like the $500. Pay you a $500.
Fucking deposit. I wouldn't do that either.
I would, because you could have sold that. You could have sold that item to somebody else. If they're under the understanding it's a non-refundable deposit, because you're locking up that money, holding it on the promise that they're going to pay you in full. Okay, they agreed to it. That's I
always just refund them the money. I just
Nah, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I'm holding on to things for people. I've had people ask me like, "Oh, Stormy, I don't have all the money right now. Can you hang on to XYZ product?" Sure. Give me a $300 deposit, non-refundable deposit, and I'll hold on to it for you. Again, too, I don't operate with as much liquidity as you too. So, like for me,
I'm liquid.
I know you are.
I get rid of shit.
Oh man, you're a real go-getter.
Fucking story.
I think that today's topic is going to be 2 videos. We're going to splice this into 2.
Yeah, I don't know if they're long enough.
This one's sitting at 22. Oh, maybe maybe we'll just keep it as 1. But guys, I'm curious as to like what you have experienced. Number 1 with like educating your spouses and
I'd like to know in the comments too. I'd always, I'm sure everybody has a different opinion. There's no right or wrong.
I'll do a poll. I'll say like, do you tell your spouse about your precious metal stack or whatever? But guys, every Sunday, 2 p.m.
BaseShoreBullionExchange.com,
EmpirePreciousMetals.com, and we'll see you on the next one.
Have a good weekend, guys.